Hi, everyone. I'm Shavana here with Spotlight Safety. Here today with my colleague Paul Johnson, our lab ops manager. We're going to be talking today about RFID inventory applications in lab and manufacturing.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Paul. I've been with the company for a little over 2.5 years, and I'm glad to be here.
So today we're going to be talking about RFID, specifically how we can apply it to inventories in labs and manufacturing, but this is a technology that has really wide-ranging applications. So this is just going to cover one small portion of how Spotlight uses this. So just as the primer, what is radio frequency identification, also known as RFID? So this is a technology that can be used to increase the accuracy of things that take a lot of time, specifically inventories. We use them for chemicals, consumables, and assets. So the specific technology behind RFID is in the transmitter that is in the tags. So there's two different types of tags that you can get. There's passive RFIDs and active RFID tags. The passive tags are what we're going to focus on. They do not contain an internal power source. They use the energy that the RFID scanner, the other part of the RFID system, to activate the chip in there and start the reading process. We like these ones because they have a very long shelf life. They're not actively using any sort of battery. They don't cost as much as active tags, and they have a shorter read range, so you're not going to accidentally catch things in your scans that are very far away from the location you're trying to scan. Active tags have an internal battery source, so that tends to make the tags a little bit larger. The tag actively sends information to the scanners, so there isn't a higher initial tag cost. But the advantage of that is that you can have a longer read range in applications that makes sense. So for us, what we're talking about within the building, within the room, we focus on using the passive tags, which are, again, cheaper, smaller, and a little bit easier to use. Paul?
Yeah, so RFID versus barcode inventory. So I know a lot of people out there like to use barcodes for things to keep track of everything. But RFID comes in handy in the fact that you don't have to actively be looking at the item to be able to scan it. So instead of a barcode inventory where you'd have to go through every piece of your inventory and scan those individually for it to log it, RFID, because of the active transmitter, allows you to scan a larger area, basically room size, and collect that data in a much faster time frame than we would having to do with the barcodes.
And with RFID, the transmitter being embedded in the tag, we do also put a visual barcode on the outside of the tag, but it's not actually required because all that information is digital and inside the tag. So when you look at the RFID tag, it might look like a barcode, but there's a lot more going on inside the tag. So the way that we've been using this at Spotlight is tagging for inventory management systems. So they can be integrated into existing programs, or you can do it as a standalone spreadsheet in Excel or any other spreadsheet system. So essentially, the RFID tag just provides you with the tagging number, but you can integrate that into any sort of program that you use for inventories. So what we have seen work best is for chemical inventories, companies that are using more than 250 chemicals. If you have inventories that typically take you more than 40 hours annually to maintain or reconcile, or if you have mobile assets that require calibration or preventative maintenance, like pipettes that tend to wander off into lab spaces, we're seeing a lot of good applications there. So you can find the things that you need and you know exactly where they were and when they came onto your site, when they leave your site. So the way that we've been doing this is we can train your staff in how to use this RFID system that's tailored specifically to your company's use, or we can help support that inventory system by helping you reconcile it periodically or help with the intake of chemicals or other assets.
So we have run into some limitations while we've been setting up these programs. The RFID tags are impacted by metal. So we've been seeing with flammables cabinets that you have to open them to be able to scan everything inside, which can be a good thing. It could allow you to determine between things that are actively within the space and the flammables that are stored within the cabinets, kind of allowing for an easy differential between what's out and what's inside. And it has also caused the erroneous readings. We had some tags come through that read very much out of our scope of things, and we can pretty much knock those out of our scans knowing that those aren't part of what we're looking for. They also don't stick well to items that are going into freezers. We found that the cold has really stopped the adhesives from working great, and it's kind of not allowing the radio frequency to get picked up by the scanners. And also in storage areas where there's lots of liquids stacked on top of each other, it struggles to pick up tags that are at the back of those cabinets because it's struggling to get through the liquids.
So those are all things that we take into consideration as we're helping you develop your RFID system.
Yeah. And so for the equipment that we actively are using, we have a scanner that we recommend to you. There's long range and short range versions. We prefer a longer range one solely because we can pick up larger spaces in a faster amount of time. And also the tags, you're going to be ordering tags that can be customized to your liking. We can customize them based on hazard classes or any types of things that you're looking for, if it's for pipettes or other items. There's also over door sensors, which is for more of a passive thing. We're going in and out of rooms. If you had a waste room that you wanted to track chemicals that were going in and out of, it would actively track when it would leave and it would come back in. And then those tracking programs can be hooked up with SAP or Prendios to allow for that information to be moved between what you're scanning and through what you're ordering and maintaining. And the startup cost for the RFID comes back pretty quickly because you don't have to be walking around having to manually inventory thousands of items. Instead, you can walk around with a scanner and pick all of it up in a pretty relatively quickly time.
Absolutely. One of the biggest benefits is getting all of your time back from those manual inventories. So for the tracking options, we have two systems that we see work really well. If you have an inventory that has high turnover, so you're moving through a lot of chemicals, you can just start an active tracking system where you have information that's coming in. So you don't have to start with an entire inventory in this case. You can just start tagging things as they come in, and it will roll over until all of your chemicals or assets have been tagged. And that's how you can know that everything on site has been incorporated into the RFID inventory. If you have lower turnover, more R&D based things that are happening, so you tend to hang on to chemicals or have a lot more different chemicals that are on site, we've been doing a periodic reconciliation. So we do an initial inventory where everything is tagged and you start with a clean RFID inventory from that date. And then as things come in, you add them to your inventory. And then when you go to do a reconciliation, you essentially just look for the things that are no longer on site. So you can remove those things that have left, and you're left with another inventory that shows everything that was on site as of that date. For receiving, the way that we've been setting this up is so as each chemical or item is coming in, it's tagged and inventoried on receipt. So you do have a receiving setup where everything comes. Everybody knows to bring that there. The chemical receipt does include assessing the hazards that are associated with that chemical. So you get a good read on what is coming into your facility. Is it something that you've seen before? Is there something that you need special handling for? Is there anything that is a new waste stream? All of those kinds of things that can crop up when you have new chemicals. For consumables, we make sure that all of those critical items are available. So you can check your spreadsheet, see if people have taken anything out of stock, and you can be prepared and have minimum reorder quantities so that you're always staying on top of your consumables. And then making sure that all of your equipment can be found when you need for asset tagging. You can have custom ID numbering, so you can have different codes for different equipment so you don't have any overlap considerations. And you can make sure that you always have preventive maintenance scheduling happening for any new equipment that's coming on site.
So for active tracking systems, this is so that we can keep a constant count of what's coming in and out of facilities. So that's when things are coming in, we're tagging them right as they enter the building. And then as they're leaving, we're actively scanning them out. So this is just more a hands-on experience with your chemical inventory in comparison to the more passive where we're waiting a longer period of time and doing a reconciliation. This is once we start going, we're going to be constantly updating it throughout the year. So there doesn't have to be that long drawn out inventory reconciliation at the end of the year, which everyone dreads because everyone wants to keep their time. So the scans, we have spots where we set up things where there's drop areas where when chemicals are empty or done, they can be placed in drop areas where we will scan them or you can scan them out just to keep track of where they're going. Um, the over door scanners, again, like I talked about earlier, allow you to see when things are passing through areas for removal. Um, and we can absolutely assist you with routine visits, just helping your staff, or we can do it for you, depending on what you like.
Yeah, and I think the real big positive here for the RFID tags is even if your scientists or anybody throws something into a waste container or something goes into a bio box, something where you really don't want your staff to have to go back through that item, you can scan the whole box and find out if there's an RFID tag in there. So you're not only getting a more accurate inventory, but you're removing some of those safety concerns if you needed to know that something had left your facility.
Right. We had a situation in the past where a company was ending up throwing out chemicals, the empty glass bottles, into glass break boxes, and they weren't sure if things had already left their inventory. And we were able to use the scanner to separate it from everything else, scan the box, and find out that there was like 4 chemicals that had been thrown in there. So instead of having to stick your hands into a glass break box, you got to avoid that entirely and just scan the box, and that problem was solved.
Yes, faster, easier, cleaner, all of the benefits that we're really looking for in safety. So when we're looking at the periodic reconciliation system, this is when you would do if you have like an annual inventory or semi-annual inventory that your company does, you can do it as often as you'd like, and then you just compare it against that previous inventory using our spreadsheet method, so that you can see what was still scanned as on site, and it will show you the line items that need to be removed by showing you which scans were not found. Then you can remove everything that is no longer present on your site and create that new updated inventory to work from as you move forward. So again, this is one of those things that we can just train your staff to do, and you can take it all in-house, or we can step in and help you out if you need that additional set of hands for when reconciliation time comes on.
One function that everyone seems to love that we've worked with on this is the seek function that comes with our RFID scanners. The seek function allows you to find that pesky item that's been hiding from you. So there's a function that, because of the radio frequency that is being sent out into the room, while you're scanning, if you can pick up that item on the scanner but can't visually find it, you can select that item from the scanner and hold the trigger down, and it will give you basically a hot or cold from like 0 to 100%, and you can walk yourself to the item and find it. That comes in handy when you're looking for that pipette that's been stored in a drawer that someone's been hoarding probably, or hiding it from the world, that needs to get calibrated. So it's a perfect system to be able to find those pesky items that have been hiding from everyone. Um, so yeah, with the pipettes, it's been great. It's just making sure that things aren't being misplaced, and allows you to keep your eye on high hazard chemicals, because you want to make sure you know where those are moving so that they're not getting lost within the facility, so we can keep active track of those items.
Yeah. And I think especially with the pipettes, they're not exactly cheap. So you don't want to be buying new ones and then find out that it was actually in a bench somewhere the entire time. So not only do you save a little bit purchase wise, but you also save that peace of mind that you don't have unused equipment that's just hanging out in drawers.
And so we've also done consumable inventories, which was us tagging when boxes were coming in worth of whatever it was, pipette tips, anything else, Kim wipes, gloves, keeping track of large scale items that are coming in to know that you're keeping on top of the items that you need for your facility. So we do the same thing, tag when things come in, you can remove it when those boxes get removed. Um, so this has helped us out greatly for some sites, because it allows for us to make sure that we're not running out of items, because there always comes a time where a big project's coming up and all of a sudden we're all out of 200 pipette tips, or oh no, we're all out of this buffer that we needed. But being able to tag and keep track of these, and like these items are like keys to being able to complete these projects. And we created pretty much a plug and play system that allowed us to help out with mins and maxes, where everything is totally malleable to how you want it to be. If you wanted only 4 of these items and 15 of these items, we can work with you on that to help set that up and make sure that you have everything that you need when you need it.
Yeah, and being able to scan your stockroom or where people are actively using consumables so that you can put together your new ordering sheet. You can know if there's something that has changed in the lab and now you need to adjust your mins and maxes. All of those things are just a little bit easier to see when there's actual metrics around them that you can reference. Otherwise, life gets busy, you get pulled away onto something else, and it can be so easy for these things to just get away from you.
Right. And finding out like what's actually being used. There's so much, there's so many items purchased every day, and actually knowing that people are using them and being able to keep track of the items that are going in and out will save you so many dollars throughout your year, knowing that you're not wasting on items that maybe 1 month were needed, but for 11 aren't, and finding out the items that are actually needed throughout your entire year.
Absolutely. So I guess in conclusion, we just wanted to let you know RFID is a very flexible inventory solution that works well in lab and manufacturing settings. We find that it is best applied in chemical inventories, asset inventories, and consumables. And the really important thing to remember is that this is a system that can be applied however you want it to be. We don't want it to be a system that now you have it and you have to make your company fit into it. It really works the other way around. You can fit this system to what your company needs to do, and it can be expanded into other areas as your business grows. So if you want to start it in a chemical inventory space and you find like now you're expanding and you have more warehousing going on, you can expand it into that area. You can expand it into consumables. You can add things. You really only need the tags and the scanner as the startup. So you can find if you are having a lot of chemicals walk out through one door and you think it'll just be easier to add that over door scanner, you can always add those at a later time. So it can really grow with your company, make sure that everything is working the way that it needs to for you, and get that kind of bespoke solution for any consumables or chemical inventory issues that you're having. I also want to mention one of the things that we've seen that has been highly beneficial from the safety side is if a chemical is not tagged, your scientists notice it. Like the end users of these products notice when the tags are not there. So we've actually had a client where a chemical kind of came in sideways, not through the normal receiving procedure, which does happen. And we were able to find out about it very quickly because the scientist immediately was like, hey, this doesn't have a tag. Does safety know about this? And it turned out it was a chemical that was more hazardous. It did need some additional handling precautions around it. So we were able to get ahead of a potential issue where someone might have used a chemical without understanding the hazards that were associated with it. So from the safety side, having the chemical receipt check-in process really helps clarify a lot of downstream issues that might come up with, especially if you need new waste containers, you need a new waste stream. Is the particular chemical being used in a new process? And that's something that safety needs to do a job safety analysis on. So it really helps give a focus point to your safety program when it comes to chemical safety and handling. So you will never, you'll always have all the SDSs that you need. You'll never be wondering, is there something that might be hazardous for my staff that I don't know about? And yeah, so if anyone has any questions or concerns, you feel free to reach out. And thank you for your time.